If you've been scrolling through endless listings of pallet stackers, watching video after video, and still feel that knot in your stomach because nothing quite feels right, you're not alone. I've been there trying to weigh the cost of a semi-electric unit against a fully manual one, wondering if the extra horsepower is worth the price tag, and worrying that I might end up with a machine that sits idle because it doesn't fit my warehouse flow. That hesitation is exactly why I dug into the details of the Tory Carrier semi-electric pallet stacker before hitting record today. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of operation where this stacker actually shines. Imagine a small to medium distribution center that moves Euro pallets, those 1,200 millimeters by 800 millimeters standards, several times a day, but doesn't have the volume to justify a full-size forklift. The floor is concrete, there's a bit of a slope on one aisle, and you need to get loads up to a shelf that's just under 3 meters high. In that scenario, a semi-electric stacker gives you the best of both worlds. You still have a manual lift lever that feels familiar, but the chain assist device eases the steering effort, especially when you're maneuvering around tight corners or pushing a full 3,300 pounds load. Who should consider buying this Tory Carrier model? If you run a warehouse where you frequently lift between 2,500 and 3,300 pounds, need a max lift height of around 118 inches, and you're dealing with Euro pallets that are a bit heavier than the standard North American pallet, this is a solid match. The fixed legs and straddle forks mean you can lift a pallet without having to reposition the forks under the load, a real time saver when you're stacking and detacking in a rush. Small business owners, inventory managers, and even DIY shop owners who occasionally need to move large loads will find the capacity generous without stepping into the price range of a full forklift. On the flip side, if your operation is largely one person, low volume, and you mostly handle lighter loads under 2,000 pounds, you might be overpaying for the extra capacity. The semi-electric system does add a bit of weight to the unit, so it's not the lightest thing you could push around if you're on a smooth, flat surface only. Also, if you need to lift beyond 118 inches, say you have mezzanine levels or high racks, this stacker will hit its limit and you'll have to look elsewhere. Now let's dig into the practical strengths that actually matter on the floor. The first thing I noticed in the spec sheet is the chain assist device. In real use, that means when you're pulling the steering wheel with a full load, the chain takes some of the torque off your hands. I've tried similar models that rely purely on manual steering, and after a few trips the wrist starts to protest. With this Tory Carrier, the effort feels more like turning a bike's handlebars than wrestling a metal bar. That translates directly into less fatigue over a shift, which can be a hidden cost saver. Fewer breaks, fewer injuries. The explosion-proof brake design is another practical win. Many warehouses store chemicals or flammable goods, and a standard hydraulic brake can be a safety hazard if there's a spark. The foot brake on this stacker is designed to be safe in those environments, so you're not adding a hidden risk just because you need to stop quickly. In my walkthrough of a client's facility that handles cleaning solvents, the manager was relieved to see that the brake system met the higher safety standards without extra adapters. Material lift equipped with a chain assist also gives you smoother, more controlled raises. When you're lifting a Euro pallet loaded with pallets of cardboard boxes, the chain prevents the lift from jerking suddenly, something you sometimes experience with pure hydraulic lifts that can overshoot the target height. You can set the forks at just the right level for a shelf and leave them there while you move the next pallet, rather than constantly readjusting. As for weaknesses, the main one is the lack of an adjustable fork width. The fixed legs are great for Euro pallets, but if you occasionally need to handle standard 4,840 inches pallets, you'll have to use a separate adapter or accept that the forks may not sit perfectly centered. That can lead to a little wobble, especially if the load isn't evenly distributed. The unit also doesn't come with an integrated battery pack, so while it's semi-electric, you're still dependent on a corded power source for the assist. In a larger facility with a sprawling layout, you'll need to plan your charging stations or keep an extension cord handy, which adds a bit of logistical overhead. Another subtle trade-off is the price point. This isn't a budget-only stacker. The steel construction, explosion-proof brake, and chain assist push it into the higher-end bracket of semi-electric units. If you're watching every dollar, you might need to justify the expense by calculating the time saved per shift and the